we need to build our brand and develop our narrative. But once we've built the brand and developed the narrative, what next? How do we get it out there? Which I think quite neatly segues into our next panel, which is embracing the lean forward sports experience. Is over the top and video on demand, are those the answers? And we have two very excellent panelists again here. Rivolino Simmons has been involved in film production for the last 31 years. He's the CEO of Riveting Media Inc. He produced and directed the Carifta Games Athletics, as well as Carifta Swimming. He has worked for broadcasters including ESPN, ITN, Channel 5, Sky UK, Sunset, Vine, IMG, amongst others. He's been involved here and has a very, very long career across a large number of sporting events. They are currently in the process of implementing a distribution system for sports distribution across Africa with their strategic partner Optimize Media Hub in the UK, which I think is very, very interesting, because that is something that we should definitely be tapping into. Ariel Valdez as well, coming on the tech side. Ariel Valdez has more than 15 years of experience managing IT services and projects together with the business of technology applied to the sports market. Everyone, if there has been one theme going across this entire panel and indeed across this entire year, it is the importance of technology. So, and I particular as someone who is in tech myself, very, very interested in hearing what Ariel has to say. So I'd like to very quickly, both of you, Rivolino and Ariel, I'd like to just give you a few very quick stats as we're talking about video on demand, right? And this is as of October 2020. So of course things have improved since then. But just to give our attendees a sense of this, the ratings, right? US Open down 56%. These are TV ratings, right? US Open, that's US Open golf. US Open tennis down 45%, Kentucky Derby down 43%, NHL down 39%, NBA Finals down 45%, right? NFL viewership down 10%, Indy 500 down 32%. These are just a few of the things. This is obviously as of October 2020, and things are improving. But this, to me, these were some shocking stats as well, because my first instinct, obviously there's certainly a lack of content just because folks can't play, but also one of my thoughts was, if everyone is sitting at home under lockdown, at least surely they'd be watching some sports. But it seems not. It seems not. So my first question to you, as well, as we're talking about video on demand, in the context of COVID-19, how has COVID-19 changed viewership habits in terms of the types of content that they want to see? And so that's the first question. And I'll put that to Rivolino.
Last year, March, we were supposed to have athletics in Grenada for ESPN, got cancelled. All of my projects for the year got cancelled. I work a lot of television, and between television and, in a sense, OTT in a sense. I've used a hybrid system in the Caribbean. Caribbean is slightly different from everywhere else. Our television market isn't developed like other places. And what my company did, we put down some boxes in each country at broadcasters so they were able to receive signals. The challenge in the Caribbean has been satellite for years. Satellite costs are $1,000 US an hour on average, and most broadcasters can't afford it. So whenever there's a tournament within the Caribbean, we don't get to see. The only thing we see in the Caribbean is cricket. I've worked many years with cricket, CPL, worked everything. I worked CPL and cricket in Trinidad this year. I was in the actual bubble for a long time. So the only sport in the Caribbean really is monetized is cricket, because they have that viewership, they have that market, people can watch it. Every other thing isn't covered. All right. There is an opportunity via the internet, OTT, technically, and putting a box at television stations to move your signal to other places. It creates opportunities. In 2018, I obtained the rights for Carifta Swimming from the local association in Barbados. I took that and I realized there was 24 countries involved. 24 countries involved. They obviously want to see their swimmers. So what did then was then license it to each individual broadcaster. Let them control in their territory where they wanted to put it online and everything else. We had 10 countries license it, and it was able to finance the crew and everything else. The local association then had access to local television stations, so they were able to put television commercials on and obtain more sponsorship because they had that visibility. We have to find unique approaches in the Caribbean. We're totally different. We're very small population wise, and this is the way that we have to work with our sponsors and television. Our television market aren't developed. So we're looking at internet. First of all, we have to develop these things because people need to want to see. I did Caribbean Games. A year before we did Caribbean Games, they had over 100 and something thousand views in the first few minutes. So there is an opportunity with OTT in the Caribbean. It's just that we have to look at it, and you have to bring together teams of people because we try to do everything ourselves. We need people in marketing. We need people, and we need to be able to tell those backstories on the athletes. We just cover events. We don't tell the story of that athlete that struggled to come up to play the sport. People want to be drawn into the story as well. These are all that make the whole thing work. Yes, the technology, VOD is great. I mean, we could go directly to consumer to their phone and charge a small fee, or we can go OTT, whether to consumer at home or a hybrid system for the Caribbean. It's all makes it happen, makes it work. We have to use a number of things together to make it actually work.
No, and from the technical standpoint there as well, in terms of the changing viewer habits. I mean, Ariel, what are your thoughts on this? I mean, what infrastructure is missing, right? Like in both in our region and in potential markets?
I believe first all I want to say thank you for everybody for the invitation to be here today, for Mr. President Brian, and for all this audience that we have today here in this important meeting for the business on technology on the Caribbean region. I believe that this event will be a standard and a reference in the Caribbean area for the upcoming years. And regarding the topic that we was talking about, I believe that the first that was ready to receive this impact was the telecom company. Normally the IT provider was ready and was expecting this impact of the millions of people working from home, millions of people watching TV on demand, watching content on demand from different platforms, different OTT, and was the first impact that on the first month of the pandemic, on the COVID-19, around on the worldwide context, the first impact was the telecom company that was ready for this massive use in the different levels. The second one was the broadcaster. Obviously, the big player of the world as NBC, ESPN, or other one don't have enough content to ensure attractive product to keep the audience on the front of the screen because they was planning everything as the business as usual. So don't was ready for this unprecedented situation and this unprecedented time. And for example, the big on this content, you can ask yourself, okay, who take advantage of this situation? For sure, companies as Zoom, companies as Google, companies as Alibaba, for example, is a cloud provider with amazing structure for delivering internet and cloud services in Asia. These companies take advantage of this situation, but other companies that was ready to jump over the wave have seriously impacted as the traditional broadcaster that don't have the enough and the attractive content to show to the audience. At the same time, other kind of companies, for example Netflix or for example Amazon Videos, Amazon Prime, have high peaks of demand of the content, and the product and the share over the actual market was today better than ever. Why? Because they was with the capacity to be on the front of the future act in consequence. This is my point of view.
Very interesting. So in terms of being flexible to be able to take advantage of those opportunities as well. But I guess in order to do that, you need some content ready, right, Rivolino?
Yeah, very much so. CPL, to give you a good example. CPL have never broadcasted live to India. Because of COVID, we were in a situation where the largest broadcaster in India took the feed. They're complaining that they didn't have the people in the stands, but they had a captive audience at home and a larger audience. They licensed this CPL to more countries than ever before. No one had any cricket home to watch. And the thing, if you check the sponsorship, it was most of the sponsorship, except for a rum company, were all broadcasting hand in hand with the new technologies, whether it's VOD and everything else. I say work together, because the biggest problem about being on the internet or anywhere is letting people know you're there. So working with the traditional broadcasters, it helps you a long way where they're advertising you and say, watch this, whatever else. It could be an agreement where they take a percentage of your VOD and whatever sales, because they're looking for ways of creating additional revenue as well, because their traditional television isn't the same, but they do have a market that's established already where the younger people might decide, I don't want to watch it on TV because I can rewind, I can look at anything I want, I could go to any part of the show on my mobile device. So you give them options.
Yeah, I mean, well, this is clearly, I mean, it's obviously an exciting time in many ways, right? I mean, so if you can do that, I mean, do you see this being replicated beyond cricket?
Yeah, I see it for anything. I see it for, I mean, we can, as sporting organizations, you can get your word out a lot easier today because of the internet and whatever's happening. Right now, I have by to 1 o'clock, finish a show that's going to be on Flow Sports tonight, and that was the cricket last night. I sat down 7 o'clock this morning with Sir Clive Lloyd, a BBC commentator, and another West Indies player who's in England right now. And the technology brought it all together to create a show where they could talk about the game last. The technology, we have to be able to jump aboard the technology and use it to our advantage. The biggest problem with analog, for example, we have a sport, we're carrying it across the Caribbean, for example. When you broadcast via satellite, that's one sponsor. You have to go across the region. With the new technology, you can insert and add it in each country different and maximize on the amount of revenue you can make. And therefore, you don't have to go to one sponsor to cover all the fees. You can, it works totally different if you understand the technology and how to use it to your advantage.
Yeah, and I mean, like, this type of technology, a lot of it is not new, right? I mean, it's existed for a while. Like what are you talking about? Like satellites? I mean, that's existed for ages.
But now internet has brought you new things. There's a new technology called SRT, and they're using it for broadcast. ESPN do not carry a satellite dish around with them anymore. The latest cricket in the Caribbean, they're using SRT. It's a box about this big. It costs about 7,000 US a box. However, guys have now created boxes where they're doing the same thing, same open source software that manages it. Guys are doing it for $1,000 a box, and you can pretty much broadcast from everywhere. Just turn on, plug in your internet, and you don't. I had a quote once for Davis Cup tennis. I had to do Davis Cup tennis in Barbados. The quotation just to bring in the satellite uplink was 33,000 US for 1 day. When you can get a box now, plug it in, and you're connected immediately. And everyone's seeing it in best quality. You now have access to different market. We have to use the technology to our advantage and understand the opportunities that are there. Because sometimes we're not going to have people back in those stadiums in a hurry, but sports is going to still go on. So you have to move the sport into the people's homes or on their devices.
Yeah, I mean, and on that point, from a technology standpoint, and by the way, I'm reading through the questions. I think that you're responding to them even as you speak, because folks are asking, is there an opportunity to grow esports in the Caribbean as well, right? I mean, that kind of ties into what you're saying.
Esports is the next frontier. Everyone's going there because now you can play at home. A broadcaster asked me to test out the technologies, if I could bring in the signals from the players, have commentary in another location and pull it all together, because getting it out there to TV or online, that's where you're going to get the viewers, build the market, build the teams coming together. That's what's needed. You need to put it together. They need to get organized within the Caribbean.
So Ariel, I mean, like, I think that it's very clear that, as Rivolino is saying, folks, clubs and organizations and athletes need to tap into technology. But the plain fact of it is that that's not what they were trained for. Right? They don't need
absolutely.
I for example, I'm in the health tech space, and it took me a long time as well to get really much more familiar with the language of my programming team, right? So I can imagine someone, if you're an athlete, even if you're involved in a sports organization, being super like a pretty high hurdle to just be able to chat to programmers, know what an API is, know about these sort of general things. Like I mean, how can we bridge that gap?
It's not easy. It's not an easy question, and with not an easy answer, because this situation have two points of view. From one side, you have club, you have broadcaster, you have sports, you have athletes that need to be show like a attractive product for the audience. And for the other side, you have the audience that need to be available to see the content of the sports or the competition that can be happening in some field of play. For join these two different phases, you need to have a massive investment in infrastructure, and not only high level. You need to think this, to bring this for the reality. For example, for a Caribbean island, I am originally from Cuba. I know the full limitation that they have, but I know that they have a really attractive market for sports, for product from sport to be broadcasted or to be show for this potential market that they have. But my point is, you need to think on the problem as a big picture and how you will connect the both phase of the situation. My opinion, everything came across the democratization of the technology bring opportunities to all the countries, not only for the, let's say, the development countries, but also for all countries around the world, because at the end, everybody here and everybody in the world are consumer and have something to buy and have something to sell. This is the big question, and the big answer also is the democratization of the access for the different content. First, you need to produce a material with be attractive for the audience, and then you need to allow the audience to show the product that you are bringing today. This is the connection. I don't know if I answer your question in general, but I was trying to be in a way of example the situation.
No, I think, and that context is absolutely critical. So I would ask again. We're trying to keep the timing tight. We've still got lots of excellent speakers coming up. I think we've heard some great things. If Rivolino and Ariel, if maybe you can give your quick concluding remarks. Again, I will put to you the same question as I did the previous panel. What is your single key recommendation for Trinidad and also for the region to be able to tap into international VOD, international streaming, and international audiences?
From my side, the first is invest in sport, because the investment in sport mean healthy for the population. The second one, invest in the democratization of the technologies to be more accessible for all the people around, because right now it's more important than ever. The people have access to the content, have access to the information, have access to different options to allow be under security measures at home, but also watching and also enjoying and also practicing. Why not make an e-sport? Why not make some sharing activities, for example, that you can broadcast and you can check with your friend, with the college. So this is my key answer. This is invest for the government, invest in health, and invest in infrastructure to allow the people access to the information and to the content.
Excellent. No, well, thank you very much, Rivolino.
I would say broadcasting technology. because we can have all these athletic events, we can have everything else, we can have best athletes in the world, and if no one's seeing it, we can it's going to be very difficult to monetize it. We have to, bring together people and different teams of people doing different things from marketing and everything else to help develop our product.
Okay, no, well, thank you very much for to both of you. That's excellent.